was time to go to school and there was a event that you had to pay for, they'd be like, actually, I'm busy that day. Not because they were busy, because they couldn't afford it. When their friends wanted to go to dinner, I'm busy. Not because they were busy, because they couldn't afford it. And so this life of poverty, this life is a tough life to live. However, the difference between Dawit and Hannah's reaction to this life is Dawit, while he kind of looked at it from a resentment point of view, Hannah, she looked at it and had a reaction of resilience. What does this mean? Hannah got this resilience from watching her mom. Whenever there were tough times, like very hard times, she saw her mom go to church, go to their prayer corner, and fall down and pray. And cry. And after seeing her mom do this over and over again, she realized it's not the money, it's not the paycheck, it's not the status that got them through life. It was their faith. It was their faith that persevered them, that made them get through, that got them to this day. You may know some people that had nothing, but still they persevered. And you wonder how. It is because of their faith. And so Hannah, she was dealing with the same poverty, she was dealing with the same struggles, but she persevered. Why? Because of her resilience for her faith. And it wasn't just this, so Hannah, she also wanted to make it out. I'm sure many of us, if we were in those situations, we would want to make it a better life. I think most of us have Habesha parents. I don't know if you ever got I came to this country for you. Or even, I do all the things I've done to give you a better life. I've sacrificed for you. Many of us have this mindset. And so, she of course wants to succeed in life. She wants to do better. And so she pursues higher education. She goes to college. She graduates. Congratulations to Hannah. And shortly after she graduates, though, they tell her that she has cancer. They tell her that she has cancer. She has a disease that is very, it's a very hard disease, of course. If you know someone that has gone through it. Bless you. And through that, she had to go to chemotherapy. And she would go to the hospital, and she would be in this weakened state. And people would come to see her. And when people come to see you and you're sick, they try to cheer you up, but she was the one cheering them up. They tried to increase her spirits. She was increasing their spirits. And they're like, how? How can you be in such good spirits? And she said, it's because of my faith. These two individuals, Hannah and Dawit, they grew up in a similar setting. They grew up in the church. They grew up with parents that were Orthodox or religious. And yet we find them in two completely different points. Today's question, today's investigation, the thing that we'll be looking at is answering this one. Everyone is becoming someone. Who are you becoming? Who are you personally becoming? Each day we move closer and closer and closer and closer to something. Where is that thing that you are moving closer to? Where is that thing you're moving closer to? And so this is going to be our investigation, our discussion, our point of topic for today. Before that, just for a recap, just so we remember, last few weeks, this is the third week of the series, right? So last few weeks we talked about a few things. This series investigates the question of who or what are you following? Who and what are you following? Christ, he invites us to follow him. He says, follow me. When we look at Simon and Andrew, the brothers, Simon, who later becomes Peter, they were fishermen. In the first week, we looked at them. They were fishermen. Some church fathers teach that Simon was illiterate. They were illiterate fishermen. And yet, Christ went to them and asked them to follow him. In Mark chapter 1, verse 17, it says, then Jesus said to them, follow me, and I will make you become fishers of men. Christ, when he's talking to Andrew and Simon, it's not follow me on Instagram. It's not follow me in a passive way. I think today, our view of following or looking at someone in this way is like a passive observation. When we think about following someone, it's a passive observation. For instance, if we think about following OTYG on Instagram or on YouTube or other platforms that we're on, it's just a click of a button. But if we think about following Christ, it is not just to follow. It's not a passive observance. What is it? It is a lifestyle. That was kind of the first week that we talked about. The second week, we looked at discipleship. Okay, we know, we have to be following someone. There's something we have to be following. Christ invites us to follow him. What does it look like to follow Christ, to be his disciple? And we align that to the concept of being an apprentice. For instance, I think we brought this example up before. Stephen Curry, great basketball player. If he went up to a high school child, and they're not children, but high school student, and said, I will train you in basketball, a basketball player in high school, that person will be ecstatic. And he will follow everything that he says. And so we looked at, okay, to follow Christ means more than just to watch him or to believe in him even. It's not sufficient even just to believe. But it means to live the lifestyle. Just as that high school student might look at Stephen Curry, we should look at Christ. And so with that, we talked about the goals of discipleship or apprenticeship. And we said 3 things. The first one was, be with your master. What was it? What was it? Very good. Be with your master. The second one, and our focus for today, is become like your master. Be with your master, become like your master. And next week, God willing, we'll look at the third one. Do as your master did. I'm not saying Stephen Curry. I'm saying Christ is our master, just for clarity if anyone got confused there. And so, today's question, to bring it one more time, is everyone is becoming someone. Who are you becoming? Who are you becoming? In Matthew chapter 10, verse 24 to 25, it says, a disciple is not above his teacher, nor a servant above his master. It is not enough for a disciple that he be like his teacher. It is enough for a disciple that he be like his teacher and a servant like his master. We want to become like our master. It is enough for a disciple that he be like his teacher and a servant like his master. Who are you becoming? Who are you becoming like? Who's your teacher? Who's your master? Who is influencing your life? Who's guiding its way? Of course, we know the person that we're trying to talk about throughout this series, in his footstep. Whose footsteps are we talking about? Jesus Christ, right? Of course, that is the answer. So when we think about this question, you might ask the question, why should I follow Christ? What will that lead me to? What will come from it? In Galatians chapter 5, verses 22 to 23, it talks about the fruits of the Spirit. You might know this verse before. You might have heard it. It says, but the fruits of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such there is no law. We're looking to follow Christ. What benefit will we gain? We will gain the ability to love, to have joy, to have peace. Have you ever heard, we always hear it's important to love one another and love God, right? In this, we're talking about imitating Christ. We know Christ is God. We know God is love. God is love, yes? The question is not am I showing love to this one person? Like after this, you might go and be like, I have to follow in Christ's footsteps. Let me go feed this homeless person or stop by and, give money to this person or do some good deed. It's not just about a single event or action. When we say God is love, that means that is his nature. God is, of course, loving, but not only is he loving, he is love. This is what we hope to imitate. An analogy that we can give. The sun. The sun is in the sky and there's light, right? The light falls on both the good and the bad. It falls on the good person and the bad person, the good and the evil. In the same way, God's love falls on all of us. And we'll take a closer look at that. And when we want to imitate Christ or imitate God, we try to imitate this nature of showing love across the board. Does that make sense? Very good. And so when we look at these fruits of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control, when we look at following Christ, the rewards or the benefits that comes from it is indeed these things. Have you ever met someone actually that became closer to God and changed? Became closer to God and changed. I had a friend. He had a big anger issue, like extreme anger issue. I don't know if you guys ever played this game, Fortnite. Okay. I don't play that game. Just kidding. And I remember I was playing with him one day, and he just got extremely upset. First, I don't know, he lost or something. I don't know what happened. But I wasn't playing with him at the time, but something happened and he just got extremely upset. And he took his controller and he threw it. It was bad. Actually, it was my controller, so it was really bad. And over time, it was kind of known that he would get mad. Over time, he got closer and closer to Christ. And you could see a change. I've never seen him throw a controller again after that. Just kidding. In Ephesians chapter 5, verse 1 to 2, it says, I'll get to that. Before I get to that, actually, I want you to think about someone in your own life. Have you ever met someone who, before and after, maybe they started reading the Bible more, maybe they started going to church more, they changed a little bit? I want that to sit with you. And so, the goal is not just to change for one instance or go do one good deed and be done with it. The goal is transformation. And we can take a look at that, what that will look like. There's three parts that we're going to take a look at today. The first one, it's a process, not an event, which we've already kind of touched upon a little bit. It's a process, not an event. The second one is, it takes time and it's not overnight. And the third one is, it has to be intentional. It has to be intentional. In Ephesians chapter 5, verse 1 to 2, this is what I was going to talk about. It says, "Therefore be imitators of God as dear children, and walk in love as Christ also has loved us and given himself for us. Therefore be imitators of God as dear children, and walk in love as Christ also has loved us and given himself for us." Be imitators of God. Earlier we said, it's not just God has loved once. God is love. God is love. And so, the first point here, it's a process, not an event. It's a process, not an event. It will be incremental. You might not always see yourself growing. New Year's is coming around soon, American New Year's. It's January 1st. Has anyone ever made a New Year's resolution? Yes, I'm sure. Okay, I see some hands up. Has anyone ever said, I'm going to go to the gym? You don't have to raise your hands, okay? Okay, thank you. That's all I said. You know, some of us may have this resolution or this goal to go to the gym, and we're like, I have this image of the person I want to be. I want to get strong. Like just kidding. Like Sam. And you want to be consistent. And you go and you go and you go. First week, you're looking at the mirror, you're looking, still not there yet. I don't feel a difference. Second week, you go. Third week, fourth week, a month in, 2 months in, and you're looking in the mirror, you're like, wow, why don't I see a difference? Why don't I see a difference? And then you come to OTYG and Phil says, wow, have you lost weight? Oh my goodness. And it's only once that you're there that you realize. When someone else tells you you've changed, something's different about you. You know, sometimes it's hard to see the incremental buildup as it continues to grow. You might be looking at yourself every day, like, am I better? Am I doing good? But it's not always apparent to you, the change, but indeed there is change. And so, when we look at this following Christ, and who will we become? Who are we becoming? Who is Addis going to be? It might not be apparent. It's a process. It's not an event. It's not a single event where it's like, boom, God zapped me. Now I'm a good person. I'm patient now. I have sisters here, so I can't lie today. Just kidding. I don't lie. No. Who is Abid going to be? Who is Nathan going to be? These are the questions we must ask ourselves. And it's a process, not an event. It's incremental. It builds over time. In 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 17, it says, "Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. Old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new." Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. Old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new. This is the goal, to become a new creation. The old things have passed. There's the story of a saint and a mistress, his old mistress. There's a saint, before he was a saint, of course, there was a woman that was his mistress, meaning like not his wife, but a person that he was sleeping with regularly and whatever. And one day, she sees him. And she sees him as he's going, and she yells out his name. And she yells out it again and says, "It's me." And he didn't respond to her. And she says his name again, and then she says, it's me. And he looks at her and he says, but it is not I. What did he mean by that? But it is not I. I am no longer the person that I was. I am new creation in Christ. I am going through this process. I'm being transformed by God to be closer to him. The old is gone. That is no longer who I am. You know, I think many of us have probably tried to escape some sort of lifestyle or some sort of thing. And it might be calling back to you. It might be calling back to you. And you might be ignoring it. Have you let the old go? Is it no longer you? If we go back to this verse, it says, therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. Old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new. Have you let that lifestyle go away? It will call you by your name. You may want to go back to it. You know, again, sometimes we feel like we want things to happen instantly. Like, oh man, I was really struggling with this thing, and God, like, just take it away from my life. I'm done. Just please, tomorrow, let me wake up and just be done with it. Has anyone made that prayer before? Lord, please take this struggle away from me. We want him to zap it away. I don't know why I keep on saying zap. But we want it to instantaneously, I can't say that word, that's why. Instantaneously go away. But it's not like that. Imagine a stream coming down a mountain. The first maybe few years it's coming, you won't see a big impact. But as time goes on, it starts to erode the path. Yes? Incrementally, slowly and slowly and slowly, that path becomes eroded. Incrementally, we erode this sin that is in our life, these obstacles that we fight. The stream is the water from Christ. And we should be wary that we don't lose sight of that. Earlier we said we had this example of the gym, and going to the gym and trying to get strong, and every day you look in the mirror and you don't see improvements. How easy is it to say, I'm not making any progress. I'm done. It's not in the cards for me. It's not in the cards for me. I'm done. I'm just going to settle with where I am. Now let's think about it, not from the gym context, but from the spiritual context. I've tried prayer. I've tried to fast. I've tried to prostrate, do sikdat. I've tried to come to church. I've done it for a month. I did it for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. I don't see any progress. I don't see any change in my life. Why should I continue doing this? Indeed, you might not be able to see the change, but change is happening. There's this author that says this. It says, most people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do in a month. We overestimate what we can do in a year and underestimate what we can accomplish in a decade. Does this quote make sense to you? Yeah? You know, today I can't build like a computer, maybe someone can, but I can't build a computer in just a day. But if I get at it and I continue and persevere, in a month, maybe I can make something. In a month, maybe I can't get really buff and strong or whatever. But maybe in a year, I can make a change. And how does that happen? through consistency. Does that make sense? Very good. It takes time, it's not overnight. And actually, before we get to this point, earlier we talked about the story of two people. What were their names? Dawit and Hamna. It's not their real names again. So it's not your friends if you know Dawit and Hamna. That's not them. And when we looked at their stories, we left off Dawit's story. He had lost everything. He had been following life, trying to get this perception of himself, or show this perception of himself, and try to control everything, and then he lost everything. He was lost. He didn't know what to do. Is it too late for Dawit? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The angels rejoice when a sinner comes back to God. But it takes time and it's not overnight. It takes time and it's not overnight. I was going to put an image of a vending machine here, but instead, what is today? What is it? Black Friday, very good. Black Friday. So yesterday was Thanksgiving, today's Black Friday. What is Black Friday known for? Discounts, deals, consumerism, go and buy something, right? I think now they have Black Friday week, I don't know. But I think there's Cyber Monday as well. And there's like a bunch of discounts and deals. Basically, it's feeding into consumerism, right? If you go onto Amazon and you order something, how fast will it get to you? Like if you have Prime or whatever. A day, 2 days, right? I think now you can even get it like, sometimes say 4 to 6 p.m., same day. How amazing, huh? When you see that, like, it's a little bit delayed. I can give you an example. I know someone recently, they ordered something on Amazon, and it was supposed to come in like 3 days, and it's delayed a couple days due to something that happened. I think holiday season is just crazy. And we look at our phones, we're like, oh my, like, what's going on? We can't be patient. Me too, by the way. You know, we have this instant feeling. We want everything instantly. If you're on social media, short form content, like, you know why it's so addicting? It's because you can just scroll and scroll and scroll endlessly, right? If you tell me if I ask you what TikTok you watched 5 scrolls ago, you might not remember. Everything's instant. Everything's instant. But this requires time. We're in a culture of having things zapped, having them instantaneously. But this requires time. It's not going to happen overnight. You can't go overnight shipping, pay extra. And the goal is to become like Christ. Kind of a side note, a little bit. St. Moses the Strong, St. Moses the Black, St. Moses the Ethiopian. Many names. Maybe you've heard of the saint. I'm not going to go deeply into his story, but just know he was like a gang leader is what they say, and he did a lot of bad things. A lot of bad things in his life. And after this, he ended up somehow, some way into a monastery. And he changed his life. A gang leader, doing very vicious things, like killings and all these things. And now he's in a monastery and he becomes a monk. Somehow, some way, he lives in the monastery. And as we know, he becomes a saint. Highly recommend look into his story. If you want to see someone who was going down the wrong path and went back and found the right way, look at St. Moses' story. He didn't become a saint because he was perfect. He didn't live a perfect life. He became a saint because he refused to stop fighting towards living the life that Christ asked us to live. He didn't stop fighting to follow him. He struggled with things like lust, with anger, Things that many of us may be struggling with today. I think last 2 weeks ago, we looked at this quote from St. Augustine. It says, "There's no saint without a past and no sinner without a future." There's no saint without a past and no sinner without a future. You look at people who may be like revered as these amazing people, even in church. You might look at someone in church and you see them serving and doing all these amazing things. You're like, oh, how could I be like them? Of course they're doing it. They're a holy person. Each and every one of us is called to holiness. Each and every one of us is also struggling with something. I promise you. It doesn't matter if someone's standing up here, sitting in the back seat. Every one of us is struggling with something. How are you fighting against that? How are you fighting against that? St. Augustine, actually before we get into that, I'll say this. Not only does it have to be a process, not only is it a process, but it has to be an intentional process. It can't happen on accident, or it won't happen on accident. Maybe sometimes it happens on accident, but oftentimes it's not going to happen on accident. It should be intentional. When we think about transformation and changing, we may think like, okay, it's me. I'm the one that's transforming. Like, I'm transforming myself. Like, I'm doing the work, I'm going to change. But actually, it's not actually you that's transforming yourself. It's God that's transforming you. It's God's grace that works within you that transforms you. St. Augustine also says, without God we can't, without us God won't. Without God we can't, without us God won't. What does that mean? It means it requires our cooperation. Have you ever heard of the word synergy? In like a meeting maybe, or something, I don't know. In the religious context, it means us, we work with God, and God works with us. But God won't do anything without your cooperation. If you're not willing, that's okay. Well, God may do things, but it requires your cooperation for you to transform. And the thing about this is, it's not something that's genetic. It's not something that is only for a few select people. But God will work with all of us. No matter of where you are in life right now, He will work with all of us. In Luke chapter 6, verse 40, it says, "A disciple is not above his teacher, but everyone who is perfectly trained will be like his teacher." Everyone who is perfectly trained will be like his teacher. And so, when we look at Christ and becoming his disciple, becoming his apprentice, him becoming our teacher, our master, when we are trained under him, we will become like him. What does it mean to be trained under him? We'll take a closer look at that shortly. But before we get into that, we're going to talk about running. Has anyone ever ran like a 5K or more? Maybe some of us? I know you guys want to raise your hands, but you guys don't want to show it. It's okay. Have you ever heard of the turkey trot? I see some head nods. Turkey trot, I've learned this year, is on Thanksgiving Day. People wake up early and they go and run. Why? I don't know. But they go and run. Some people run 5Ks, which is like 3 miles. Some people run 10Ks, which is 6 miles, 6.7 miles. Some people do marathons. Imagine we do a marathon. If I tell you, okay, next week we have a marathon to do, what are you going to say to me? You might tell me, Adis, I love you, but I cannot run a marathon. Marathon's 26.2 miles. But if I told you, okay, in a year we'll run a marathon, at that point, maybe we'll start to train. Now we have a goal in mind. We may try to do things like month by month. You start with 1 mile, then you go to 2, then you go to 3, then you go to 4, then 10, and then you continue. And finally, you're able to run this 26.2 mile marathon. We should think about our spiritual lives in this way. In order to get to this level where we are trusting in Christ and following Him and being the people that we envision ourselves to be, we need to not only try. Trying means going out and doing something now. Okay, I'm going to go and start praying, and I'm going to go and start going to church, I'm going to start doing these things. And it's just sporadic. I'm just trying. It's only on your own willpower, when I can. You have to change from that perspective to a consistent practice of effort. It's not about, okay, I had a bad day, I'm not going to pray tonight. It's, okay, it's my time to pray, I'm going to pray. It's not about, like, I'm so tired, I'm not going to wake up. Like, I can go to church next week. It's no, I have church this morning. I'm going to wake up and I'm going to go worship. We have to change our mindsets from the mindset of, okay, I'm going to do it on my own time, at my own convenience, to I'm going to do it consistently. Like I'm practicing for a marathon. Like I know I'm trying to get to this point where I can run 26.2 miles. If I only do it like here and there where I'm just, I'm not even taking it seriously, I might not get anywhere. But consistency and practice, this will lead to many fruits. And so continuously and consistently being discipled, becoming Christ's apprentice, listening to His word, reading His word, going to church. These are the things that will help us get to that point that we want to get to. Does that make sense? Yes? Very good. Consistency. That's the main message. In 1 Timothy chapter 4, verses 7 through 8, it says, "But reject profane and old wives' fables, and exercise yourself toward godliness." Exercise yourself towards godliness. Practice godliness. Make it part of your life. Make it part of who you are. Practical examples of this. Say you struggle with something like anxiety, for instance. Say you get anxious easily. For some of us, this is not bad. You might go to YouTube, sermons on anxiety. Search. Nowadays, I think people are going to AI. I don't know what's your preference. You go to ChatGPT, for instance. How to deal with anxiety, parentheses, orthodox. And then you read or you listen, and you're like, okay, I got what I needed, I'm done. Like, I think I'm good, I don't need to worry anymore. But if that's it, that's where you end, you may feel it starting to creep up again and again and again. We have to train through habits and practice. The way to become like Christ, like Jesus, is to practice His practices. To do the things that He did. If we're struggling with anxiety, find quiet time. I think 2 weeks ago we talked about abiding in Christ. Do you guys remember what it means to abide in Christ? To abide. What did that mean? It means to make your home. Make Christ your home. Find time that is quiet. Go to your secret place and do a prayer. Go to church on Sundays and find rest in Him. Leave the worries of the week and go and worship. Go and praise. Go and listen. Be generous. Give. I think people sometimes, like, you hear people in the church, they say, like, go and be generous or go and give. And some people are like, okay, but X, Y, and Z. There's like a billion things people say. Like, how could I give? Like, one, like, I worked hard for this. I don't know where it's going. Give generously. Trust in God's command more than your own plans. And what will be the outcome of all this? Consistency and building these habits. I saw this image, and you'll see something. You'll see here. Can you guys see that? Maybe it's difficult. On the left side, there's a person playing piano. And there's a person pointing at them and says, stop, you're not good at it. And the person playing piano says, but if I stop, I will never be good. But if I stop, I will never be good. On the other side, same words. Stop, you're not good at it. Person praying. But if I stop, I will never be good. Sometimes that person is another person pointing at you. Sometimes it's your friends from the past lifestyle saying, bro, like, why are you trying to act holy? Like, I see you at church all the time. Like, what's going on? Sometimes it's yourself. How could I be in front of God knowing all the things that I've done? There's a saying that says, God's mercy is greater than any sins that you have done. Trust me, God's mercy is greater. But if I stop, I will never be holy. If I stop, I will never be closer to Christ. Again, that could be you pointing at yourself. Are you pointing at yourself, telling yourself, dang, you should stop praying. It's not worth it. You're not even good at it. You don't see any purpose. You don't see any fruit coming from it. But if I stop, I will never be holy. If I stop going to the gym, I'll never get to where I want. If I stop training for this marathon, I will not be able to run it. Does that make sense? You guys are following? You guys are with me still? Very good. And so, I think I'll say one thing, actually, before I wrap it up. Just a few more minutes. Father Anthony, he's a priest in the DMV. The series is based on a series that he did. And one thing that he said is, a black belt is just a white belt who never quit. A saint is just an ordinary apprentice who kept going. And so don't leave your transformation to be up to chance. Don't leave all this, the reward that you might get, the peace, the love, the joy, the patience that you will receive up to chance. The joy that it is to be with Christ. Be intentional. It won't happen overnight. It's very difficult for it to happen overnight. It's rare. It may not happen overnight, but with consistency, with practice, and with time. You know, next time you come, we're like, is that who I thought it was? The people who you used to be with, maybe like calling your name, and you may say, I'm not, it is not I, as we saw earlier. And so, again, the call is to organize one's way of life around Jesus' way of life. To look into his word, to come to his home, the church, to learn from the church fathers, to abide in him, to make him our home. And finally, learn how to practically organize our ways, our lives around his way. And so next week, we'll talk a little bit more about that third point. And with that, glory be to God.
Let's all stay together and may hear the word of life. Awesome. That was pretty powerful. Yeah, really big takeaways, like the idea of taking the small steps. I think we can all relate to the fact that we have doubts, right? We have fears when it comes to our relationship with Christ. And so understanding that this is the first step. We're here and we're learning. And knowing that God's grace will surpass the things that we're struggling with. So I really found a lot in that. Thank you, Adis. So, as usual, I hope this is an updated link. Okay. All right, so as usual, it is not, okay. As usual, we're going to do our discussion groups. We are a smaller crowd today, which is always good for discussions because it makes you guys have to talk. But we're going to break out into 4 groups. So, usual, I'll count off. Maybe Phil can help count off the guys. And then we'll go, group 1 to 3 is going to be up here, and group 4 is downstairs. And then hopefully we'll have the discussion questions out too.
Matthew.
And then you guys are both one. Alright guys, we can all rise and go to our groups. Again, 1 to 3 is upstairs. We can do group 1 over here, group 2 over here, and group 3 back there. These are really small groups. Good, how are you? Nice to see you. One is over there, yeah. 2 is over here. Let's make the small little. I didn't see it today. One's over here, 2 is over here. And then 3 is back here.
You too, buddy. I'll let you take that.
Thank you, bro. Hey, chill.
It's all love.
This is good.